Hey peeps, welcome back to the channel. In this one, we're going to be talking about how you can make more money as a filmmaker. Everyone's heard of the saying, you don't want to be a starving artist. And I've ran a video production business and been making films and making a living out of films for about 6-7 years now. So in that journey, I've learned a lot about how you can actually use that skill in a way that delivers you more money. Today, I'm going to break it down into 3 different sections for you, which are cost of sale, types of clients, and specificity. And there's some really important things to understand in each of those in order to help you grow your income and make more money as a filmmaker. So the first thing that's really important to understand is cost of sale. This is a business principle, which is essentially gross profit. Now, as a filmmaker, it's very easy to get lost in the world of wanting to just make the biggest, flashiest, most compelling video ever. And of course, that is absolutely not a bad thing to do. However, you always have to look at that. If you've got a video project that you've won and the client says, I've got £10,000 to spend on it, the cost of sale is how much are you going to have to spend to deliver that video. Every single pound that you can save that you spend on it is going to be giving you a higher level of gross profit. And that will mean that you can earn more money from it. So really simply, just to break it down, you have your revenue, which is your budget that the client has given you. You've then got your cost of sale, and that will include things like, do you have to rent gear? Do you have travel? Do you have to pay people? Are you going to have extra crew on set? What are their gear requirements? Do they have expenses? Do they have travel? Do you need accommodation? All that sort of stuff. Having a grasp of that at a very top level will mean you can start thinking about the projects that you're producing, because you might have a situation where you're producing a fair chunk of content and you're creating a lot of revenue, so you're selling a lot, but then at the end of the day, when you start looking at how much profit you're making, you might end up finding out it's not actually as much as you thought in comparison to your revenue. It's an old business saying that revenue is vanity and profit is sanity, because at the end of the day, if you can turn over hundreds of thousands of pounds or millions of pounds, you can generate the revenue, that's great. But if that revenue doesn't translate to any kind of profit, e.g., all of the costs to deliver whatever you're doing is going out on cost to actually deliver whatever product or service you sell, it's not a very good business. And as filmmakers, we need to be really conscious of that, because I was very guilty of this early on in my business career, of wanting to spend more and not thinking about that tightness between how much it's costing you on a project and how much profit you're going to make from it. So one really simple thing you can do as a filmmaker to make more money is not actually make more money, it's spend less money and just get a real solid grasp and tight understanding of what cost of sale is. This is what producers do on high-end films, and they're always at conflict with directors and DOPs, because look, you need to think about this in the context of, is this going to actually really enhance the film? Like, what elements are really going to make a difference? You know, is having a 10 grand lens versus a 2 grand lens going to make that much of a difference for 1 or 2 shots in the scene? These are the kind of decisions that are made on high-end budget films, and there's somebody that's dedicated just to making sure that cost of sale is watertight and that the profit levels are there. So the next thing that's really important to understand is selling to certain types of businesses will make you a lot more money than others. So in the world of different organizations that you can sell to, there'll be different sizes of businesses, and all of these businesses operate very differently, and selling to them, and the ones that are best to sell to, are things that you need to understand. So just to break this down a little bit, the main principle at the base of this bit of advice is, if you are selling something to somebody that is a small business owner, so say it's a guy or girl that's got a 10-person team and they are the founder, they're running that team, the likelihood is, as a small business, the budgets are going to be significantly tighter, and the person that's parting with their money to spend on that video is going to be feeling like it's their money, because it's going to be a founder or somebody close to the founder, and the founder's likely to be involved in that decision making. And that could also be the case all the way up to a medium-sized company. In my business career, I've dealt with numerous medium-sized companies which are, several hundred employees, and they've got marketing teams with several people in them, but I'm still having to convince a marketing director and also sometimes often a founder or a CEO of a company to part with that money for a video. And whilst this is achievable or when you're dealing with the founder of a company, they're going to have different things that they're interested in, and their propensity to spend on things is going to be a little bit more reserved. Whereas if you start looking at those organizations that are much larger, so I'm talking like thousands of employees, the way that those organizations work more typically is they have a board which will give a direction. So they'll say to the marketing team, this is what we're trying to achieve, go and do it, and here's a pot of money to do it. And then what you have then is you're selling to individuals and teams in much bigger businesses, and those much bigger budgets aren't their money. It's not connected to them. Another thing that's interesting that happens in those sorts of organizations, and two in particular that I do a lot of business with, is one, universities, and two, sports clubs. Now, they'll often have a budget allocation given to them. And if they don't spend that money, then that budget gets reduced or taken off them in the next quarter or the next year. So these businesses and departments have an incentive to spend money that's given to them. They need to get it spent. Whereas a founder of a small business owner isn't thinking, I need to get this money spent. They're thinking about how they can grow their business in the most economical fashion. Whereas a large organization is got that higher level of budget and flexibility to throw at projects which are a bit more experimental, and also parting with higher levels of cash is going to feel a lot less painful to somebody that's working in a role and has that budget and needs to spend it anyway than somebody who's trying to grow a business. So certain types of clients are going to be able to deliver more to you, and focusing your attention on selling to clients like that is going to give you way more bang for your buck, because it's going to take a similar amount of effort to sell a video project to a large organization as it will to sell it to a medium or smaller size organization. However, the propensity to spend more, the desire to spend more, and often for less, without as much harsh negotiation on trying to bring the price down, is more probable with those larger businesses. Which leads me on to point number 3 here, which is specificity. And this ties very closely into that first point. So how do you sell into those larger organizations? Now, those larger organizations are going to have different barriers when you're trying to sell to them. A smaller organization, if you have a lower quality portfolio, they may be inclined to work with you. But if you're wanting to go after a big business, you need to be able to demonstrate to them that you can deliver for them. Because the thing that's going to be driving their decision making isn't so much the price, it's going to be how is their credibility going to be affected if something goes wrong. So if you're dealing with somebody, there you've got a senior role, they've worked pretty hard to get there going up the chain of command. Now, if they're going to make a decision to spend a lot of money with you, they're making that decision based around how is it going to affect their credibility? Is it going to make them look good? So in order for you to sell to them and to those larger organizations, two things that you can do is be really specific. So have a portfolio and references of examples of work that are really specific to that industry. And the two big ones that I work with regularly are higher education, so universities, and sports. Now, I have a really strong portfolio with the team here in delivering in both of those industries. So when we go and try and sell to them, we can show them those bodies of work and say, look, we can deliver for you. And that is often one of the most critical things to put somebody's mind at ease that's getting ready to part with a large chunk of change from their budget. Their neck is on the line to make sure that this video is going to be good for them. Portfolio with a bit of product photography, a bit of product videography here, something in fitness, something in sport, something in lifestyle, something in animation here, and this, that, and the other. You might be able to sell to them still. They might go for it, but it's going to be significantly less compelling. So presenting your work in a way which is focused around the industry that you're trying to tackle and showing that you've got strong portfolio and references that's similar to what they want to achieve is going to remove the risk for them and make them more inclined to make a decision to purchase from you. And if they purchase from you and they're one of those larger businesses, then you're going to be quids in because they've got higher budgets to spend on video. That means that you have a bigger budget. You can spend a bit more, but still keep your cost of sale at a good level and make a higher profit margin. In addition to that, servicing that client that might, give you a 40, 50,000 pound video project versus serving a client that is a small business that wants a video for 5 grand, it'll probably take the same amount of time, effort, energy, and managing to deal with both of those different businesses. So the time energy equation that you're going to have to invest is equal, but the rewards of the financial return are much higher. Okay, that wraps it up for this one, guys. That's 3 tips to help you make more money as a videographer. I hope that was helpful. If it was, do me a favor. As always, I'll ask one simple thing. Oil up that head, drop a little headbutt on the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video. Nice one.